What's up, everybody? Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 Archetype review, Vampires, as promised. Let me scroll myself up right there. And in this video, I know I haven't done an Archetype review in a while. Normally, what I do with these Archetype reviews is that I just give you like a quick overview of all the cards, and I don't really do anything else outside of that. But there's been a demand for it, because I'm one of the few people on YouTube that does these Archetype reviews. Um, and people would really like to hear more about uh, some tips on how to use them, the do's and don'ts. And so that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing from here on out, so like with these archetype reviews. So without further ado, so let me give you like a little backstory on vampires. I don't know much, but what I do know is that the first vampire to be introduced to the game was Vampire Lady back in 2004 in June. uh, she came in the booster pack called Ancient Sanctuary, and that's as far as I know. What I'm saying. Like that's as far as my vampire knowledge can take me. After that, what I'm saying. Like the first time I came across them was back in 2006, sometime in 2006, and I had used. Well, I had bought uh, the Zombie Madness structure deck, and that's pretty much how I found out about Vampire Lord, Vampire Genesis, and all of those. So that's pretty much as like far as I can go back with the whole vampire thing. But yeah, this is an archetype review. So what we're going to do is just take a quick look at all of the vampire monsters in the archetype, as well as the vampire support cards, and then I'll be just giving you guys some tips on how to use these things, um, as well as like the do's and the don'ts of some of them, because there's some of these that are pretty much just like, what I'm saying, just straight to the point. So those don't really need to be like elaborated on. But yeah, so let's get started. First up, Shadow Vampire, which is one of the new ones that got introduced in Shadow Specters. Uh, yeah, it's a level 5 attack, 2000 defense, 0. Mind you, all of these vampires are zombies in the dark. So I don't even need to see it. Really need to emphasize on that. But yeah, this is Shadow Vampire. He's level 5 attack, 2000 defense, 0. Description: when this card is normal summon, you can special summon one dark vampire monster from your deck or hand except Shadow Vampire. If you do, monsters you control other than that monster cannot declare an attack this turn. This card cannot be used as an Exceed material except for the Exceed summon of a dark monster. Okay, moving on. Vampire Baby, which nobody really cares about, but he's still a vampire. He's still in the archetype, so I'm a review it. He's level 3, attack 700, defense 1000. Description: at the end of the battle phase of if this card is destroyed by a monster by battle, if this card destroyed a monster by battle and sent it to the graveyard this turn, you can special summon that monster to your side of the field. Um, I believe I was kind of wrong about Vampire Lady being like the first, uh, the first vampire in this game, because I believe it was Vampire Baby, or like AKA Red Moon Baby. No, 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 no. I believe I was correct on that because this one came out back in like May of 2000. Well, then again, because Vampire. Well, I don't know which one came first, so I'm gonna just shut up on that. Yeah, so don't quote me, but I believe Vampire Baby came first. I believe Vampire Baby came first, though. Um, Next up, we have the new boss monster, and the reason why I say new boss monster is because, like, the previous boss monster is one that I'll be getting to in a minute. But yeah, Vampire Bram, the Elder Ritter. He's a rank 5, exceed, attack 2500, defense 0. Description: 2 level 5 zombie type monsters. You can detach 1 exceed material from this card, then target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon that target to your side of the field. You can only use this effect of Vampire Bram, the the Edel Ritter, once per turn. If you do, monsters you control other than that monster cannot attack this turn. If this card is on the field is destroyed by an opponent's card, either by battle or by card effect, and sent to the graveyard, special summon this card from your graveyard and face up defense position during the next turn standby phase. So that's a good boss monster. Oh, we have Vampire Dragon. It's a level 5, attack 2400, defense 0. When this tribute summon card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your hand. So next up, Vampire Genesis, who, in my opinion, was the original vampire boss monster. Though some people may say there was Vampire Lord or whatever. No, this was the original boss monster for the vampires. Don't get it twisted. He's a level 8, attack 3000, defense 2100, vampire. Description: this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by removing from play 1 vampire lord you control. Once per turn, you can discard 1 zombie type monster to the graveyard to select 1 zombie type monster in your graveyard. With a level less than the discarded zombie type monsters, and special summon it. So there you go. And next up, Vampire Grace. Vampire Grace is a level 6 attack 2000, defense 1200 monster. Description: when a level 5 or higher zombie type monster is special summoned to your side of the field by the effect of a zombie type monster, while this card is in your graveyard, you can pay 2000 life points. Special summon this card from your graveyard. You can only use this effect of Vampire Grace once per turn. Once per turn, you can declare 1 card type monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends 1 card of that type from their deck to the graveyard. Moving on is Vampire Lord and Vampire Lady, because like these two are pretty much like the same card. But I think Vampire Lord, like does a little bit more. So she's level 4, and her attack and defense is 1550. Description: when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, declare 1 card type monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends 1 card of that type from their deck to the graveyard. And with Vampire Lord, it's the same thing, but when it gets destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you'll be able to special summon it again during the following standby phase, or like your next standby phase. Let's see. Yeah, I was correct on that. And next up, we have Vampire Sorcerer, who I believe is like one of the most helpful monsters I've seen in this game in a long time. It's a level 4 attack and defense 1500 vampire. Description: if this card is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, either by battle or by card effect, you can add 1 dark vampire monster or 1 vampire spell or trap from your deck to your hand. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard. You can normal summon 1 dark vampire monster this turn without tributing. And last is Vampire Curse, last of the monsters, Vampire Curse. He's a level 6 vampire, attack 2000, defense 800. Description: when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can pay 500 life points, special summon it during the standby phase of the next turn. When you do, it gains 500 attack. So that's it for him. And for the 2 support cards for the vampires, First up is Vampire Empire. It's a field spell card. Description: zombie type monsters gain 500 attack during damage calculation only. Once per turn, when a card or cards is sent from your opponent's deck to the graveyard, target one card on the field, send one dark vampire monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that target. And last but not least, Vampire Shift. And it's a normal trap card. Description: if your field spell card zone is unused and the only face-up monsters you control are zombie type, activate one Vampire Empire from your deck. Then you can special summon one Dark Vampire monster from your graveyard and face up defense position. You can only activate one Vampire Shift per turn. So that's pretty much the rundown of all of the vampire monsters and their support cards. Now, to give you guys like some tips on how this deck should be run, and also give you guys some do's and don'ts with some of these. So first thing I'm gonna start off with is Vampire Baby. Now, Vampire Baby is pretty much just self-explanatory. But if you guys were, personally, I wouldn't use them. But if you guys felt like you want to use them, well, then of course the main thing you have to worry about with Vampire Baby is his low attack. 700 is not going to cut it in this day and age in Yu-Gi-Oh. When the average monster hits the field, it's pretty much like 2,500 attack. So, I mean, yeah, like the average monster in Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays has 2,500 attack. And the reason why I say the average is because that's pretty much like what you would get with like these boss monsters these days, and that's the ones that mainly get summoned up quickly. So that's why I said that. So the main thing with this is that what you're gonna have to do is either use cards like Shrink in order to lower your opponent's attack, like your opponent's monster's attack, or use cards to raise this card's attacks, such as um um the Axe of Despair and things like that. So that's a couple pointers for them for Vampire Baby. When it comes to Shadow Vampire, well, first off, I have to talk about Vampire Sorcerer, because like he affects a lot of these cards. Like I said, this is by far the most helpful monster I have seen for an archetype in a long time. On top of the fact he's only level 4, so he's easy to get on the field. Obviously, this card is pretty much begging to get destroyed or being sent to the graveyard. You can banish it, and you can, since most of the cards that you're going to be using in this archetype are like level 5 and level 6, you're obviously going to want to run 3 of these, because you want to make summoning those monsters as easy as possible, and he makes that happen, or he or she, or where this card makes that happen. Not only that, but you can search out dark vampire monsters from your build, and you can search out those vampire spells and traps. So he just does it all. He just does it all. Then on top of that, he can banish himself, and you don't have to tribute to normal summon those level 5 or level 6 vampire monsters, which brings me to Shadow Vampire. Like this directly affects his effect. If you use that effect and you normal summon him, you'll be able to special summon, one dark vampire monster, saying like just regardless of level, from your hand or your deck, which your main target would be like a level 5 in order for you to exceed summon into Bram, which is a monster that, just like Vampire Lord, can special summon itself from the graveyard. Not only that, but he can special summon monsters from your opponent's graveyard. So your opponent may, have a monster that they plan on using, or like a monster that they use that you feel like you can take advantage of, or pretty much just for the simple fact that you don't want them to get a hold of it, and you could just snatch it out of their graveyard for yourself. But you do have to be wary of its drawback. You won't be able to attack with any other monsters besides the one that got special summoned that turn. So You have to keep that in mind. Um, and he can resurrect himself regardless if he's destroyed by battle or by card effects. So you good either way. Um, Now the next up uh, is Vampire Dragon. Again, this is one of those cards that I don't really see too many people using with this build, even though it's level 5. There are other level 5 monsters. Well, this one and Vampire's Curse. To me, Vampire's Curse is really just like a sorry excuse for Vampire Lord, in my opinion. I don't really use them, but because you have to rely solely on the fact that it has to get destroyed by battle. And truth be told, it's no guarantee that your opponent is going to do that, especially these days when most cards are getting, easily taken out by some card effects, or most cards are getting destroyed by card effects, including monsters. So I don't really see him being too helpful, but he's pretty much self-explanatory. He has to be destroyed by battle, and if you can find some way to make that happen, hey, more power to you. And this guy right here he's another one that I don't really see too many people using. So just for the simple fact of all the other vampires and what they do, he just doesn't really fit into that motif, you know. Um, but he does search for a lot. Any level 4 monster in the game, any level 4 or lower monster in the game. Granted that it was tribute summon, you know, properly, then hey, I mean, like you can pretty much use him in like any build, pretty much. So like just for like some search support. And now on, I mean, of course, like Vampire Genesis, he's self-explanatory. Just have, Vampire Lord on the field, and you'll be able to special summon him. But he's just like a more powerful version of Zombie Master, pretty much. With Zombie Master, you're able to discard a zombie type monster to the graveyard, and you'll be able to, uh, special summon one from the graveyard. Well, like he does that as well, but you have to make sure with the level 5 and the level 6 monsters. I feel like you'll have an easier time with that, since pretty much your only target like your main targets would be level 5, and say like level 4s. So yeah, so this is like a pretty okay card to have in your build. Like he's not as helpful as he once was. So like with these new vampires coming in, but that, like Vampire Genesis still has its uses. But on to like the main 3: Vampire Lady, Vampire Lord, and Vampire Grace, along with Vampire Empire and Vampire Shift. So first off, let me go to Vampire Shift real quick, because we got to talk about this. This card is amazing. This is a trap form. This is a vampire's version of. This is pretty much terraforming and Monster Reborn just mingled into one card. Saying like just for this archetype. Well, saying like just for zombies. And it's amazing. If you don't have a Vampire Empire in your hand, no problem. You can just search it from your deck and just activate it on site, instantly. Then on top of that, you'll be able to resurrect the Dark Vampire monster from your graveyard. So this card is just a win-win, double whammy. Not only do I get to just pull a field spell card from my Vampire Empire from my deck, activate it, on the field instantly, but on top of that, I pretty much get a Monster Reborn ability with it. So yeah, like that's a pretty helpful damn trap. Not to mention this right here. See, this is gonna mix in with these 3: Vampire Grace, Vampire Lord, and Vampire Lady. Now, Vampire Lady, of course, with all three of these, like the main thing is that they can send cards from your opponent's deck to the graveyard, which in turn is going to activate Vampire Empire, which acts as an attack booster, an MST, a hammer shot, or, you know, it kills a monster, it kills spells and traps, any card that you want to destroy on the field. Um, Not only that, but you'll be able to use it also, so like as a, but you're also able to use it as a foolish burial. Granted that you do use those effects of those three monsters. Um, and say like you'll be able to send Vampire Sorcerer to the graveyard, and yeah, you'll be able to normal summon. You'll be able to activate its effect, and then you'll be able to normal summon those level 5 and level 6 vampires. So this is an amazing field spell. It destroys shit. It powers up your monsters during damage calculation. You know, then you get like a foolish burial effect out of it. So this is just like a triple win. It's amazing. And again, with oh, whoops, with Vampire Lady, you just gotta take out. You just have to inflict battle damage to your opponent, uh, as well as Vampire Lord, in order to use their effects. But the main one out of the three that you want to use is Vampire Grace. Now, me in my build, I run three of these. Like, I know some people say that you would only run two because of that 2,000 life point, like resurrection thing. But here's the thing: you never want to use that. And again, like this is one of those, so like do's and don'ts that I was, saying like mentioning earlier. That 2,000 life point deal is something that you would never want to use. That you should never use that, because there are too many ways in order to get zombie type monsters on the field, in these vampires in particular. And I'm going to tell you all three of them. Well, all four. For one, you can use Shadow Vampire in order to get Vampire Grace on the field. 2, Monster Reborn. Duh. 3, Pyramid Turtle. 4, Book of Life. And there's never. Oh, and 5, Call of the Mummy. That's another way to get her on the field. But so that 2,000 life points, you really don't need to use that. But saying, like just in terms of special summoning, special summoning it from the graveyard. Of course, just use Book of Life, or saying like Monster Reborn. That's pretty much all your reasons why that effect should never be used. On top of that, another reason why I run three of these is because, unlike Vampire Lord and Vampire Lady, she can just activate that effect, at will. Of course, granted that it doesn't get, effect veilered, but that's one of those cards that I never really worry about. I don't know why so many people always be worrying about, effect veiler like that. For me, that's not even like a card to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Because like once it's used, so like then what? On average, like nobody really runs, saying like 3 effect veilers. At the most, I've seen people only run 1. So once they use it that one time, then that's pretty much is like I have nothing else to worry about, because you pretty much just use that one card. So I'm not worried about Vampire Grace being a fake veiler. But yeah, Vampire Grace, she can just activate that effect that it takes Vampire Lord and Vampire Lady to do battle damage for, which is extremely helpful. And if you got 3 of these on the field, then hey, you can dump 3 at a time. Which I have done on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. So those pretty much are your go-to cards right there. But again, like uh, using any of those effects, just using that effect with any of those monsters, in turn will activate Vampire Empire. You'll be able to pop any card on your opponent's side of the field, or if you're not careful, that means you got to pop a card on your side of the field. So like you really got to be careful with that. And yeah, that's pretty much the rundown. Again, they're all zombie type monsters. So, oh, and another card that, well, I think I spoke on that, but so like just in case, Shadow Vampire can also get Vampire Grace on the field. Use Shadow Sorcerer in order to, a normal summon, that one, uh, like Shadow Vampire. I, I'm really confusing myself. Activate Vampire Sorcerer's effect from the graveyard, banish it, and normal summon Shadow Vampire, and you'll be able to special summon Vampire Grace from your deck or your hand. So, but then again, um, if your main focus is Bram, then of course then you'll want to get a level 5. But yeah, so all of these cards really just work well in unison. Some works get well more than others. Again, like the ones that I personally use are Vampire Lady, Vampire Lord, Vampire Sorcerer, Vampire Genesis, Shadow Vampire, and Vampire's Grace, Vampire Empire, and Vampire Shift. And I also run Bram. The ones that I don't really worry about is Curse, Dragon, and Baby, because like they don't even fit really into what this new vampire strategy is, which is to dump cards from your opponent's deck to the graveyard. That's pretty much like the main strategy of the vampires right now. Make sure that you're able to force your opponent into dumping cards while popping their cards on their side of the field, and basically just making them unable to use those types of cards that you feel are a, like bigger threat to you. So whether it be traps, monsters, or spells, like you can force them to dump them, activate Vampire Empire's ability, and pop their cards on their side of the field. Then you get to dump Vampire Sorcerer in the graveyard, which in turn you'll be able to use his effect to either normal summon, Vampire Lord, or Shadow Vampire, or Vampire Grace. But your main target would want to be Shadow Vampire in order to activate his effect, and you'll be able to get another level 5, and that way you'll be able to exceed in the Bram. But yeah, again, the other cards that they don't really mention that you can use with this, and I don't know why they didn't put that down here, are Call of the Mummy, Pyramid Turtle, and also Book of Life. So like those are the other cards that you would want to try to fit into your vampire build, because that will help you get them on the field a lot quicker. And again, with Vampire Grace, you don't ever want to use that 2000 resurrection ability. You don't ever want to use that 2000 life points resurrection ability. It should never be used. It's too many ways around it. It's too many ways to get Vampire Grace on the field, and there's 2 ways to get her out the graveyard. Book of Life, which you can run 3 of, and Monster Reborn, which is of course limited. So you got like 4 cards max that can get her out the graveyard without using that. So there you go. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I wasn't too, long with it. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was informative. And I hope you guys look forward to the next one. Until then, peace.